Good evening. I'd like to call the October 14th, 2024 meeting of the Dare County Board of Education to order. We're meeting at the Dare County Administrative Building in Manteo, and the time is 5:01. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment of silence. Next, I'd like to recognize our commissioners out there in the room tonight, and it looks like Ms. Bass-Knight is here with us tonight. Thank you for attending. Now I'll turn the meeting over to our District 4 representative, Ms. Bothwell.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to see everybody here. It's a very small group today, but I especially like the back row. I love you guys being here, supporting us, and you, Denise, even though you're in the front. I hope in the moment of silence, y'all thought about what's going on in the western part of our state, in Florida, and prayed for those people. They've got a rough road ahead of them. And now I would like to turn over to Tobias so he can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tobias and Ms. Bothwell. First order of business this evening is to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the agenda.
We have a motion on the floor by Ms. Balance, second by Ms. Bothwell. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Next, we'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Shaw for public comments.
Well, I will say that the Board of Education does encourage people to sign up for public comment and always welcomes input on anything having to do with the schools. We have none this evening, but we'll have some next month, I'm sure. And
Is there something we don't know?
and remind people that there is a time cutoff at which they must sign up.
Thank you, sir. First item is announcement recognition. As board chair, I'd like to share with everyone that the North Carolina School Board Association has a conference each and every year. And with that, we have the opportunity, as every board does throughout the state of North Carolina, to complete a request of doing a seminar, a class, which I did so. But before I did, I reached out to Mr. Woodard. I felt like that the 8 years that we were, as a school board, going to these conferences, I've never seen where the Board of Education and the county commissioners done a simultaneous presentation to see how fortunate we are in Dare County to work with our county commissioners. Mr. Woodard is available. He said he would be able to do so. So last Thursday, the North Carolina School Board Association had a webinar for all chairs throughout North Carolina. And we didn't have every county represented, but we had several. And during that conversation with that process, the North Carolina School Board Association shared with me that Dare County was accepted to do a presentation next month at our annual conference, allowing that the Board of Education and the county commissioner, Mr. Woodard, tell about and share the good news of what happens in Dare County. And we know here that we're very fortunate. It doesn't happen everywhere. So I just wanted to give a little bit of bragging rights that we're, when we go to the state level, to let them know how fortunate we are. And it's obviously every day the commissioners step up to the plate. And last Monday, showed, again, we presented the meal program, the universal meal program, to the commissioners. Every commissioner had very good detailed questions from Mr. Bassnight and from Ms. Govan and Mr. Blackstock, and I felt like the answers were was good from our staff. It showed that the commissioners that we're going in the right direction and making this program work. So with that being said, they're willing to fund that program up to $415,000. That's awesome. It's great to hear that. So we have been accepted to do this presentation next month, and I'm looking forward to actually having the date and time, hopefully by the end of this week, according to Ms. Ramona, so I can share that with Mr. Woodard and represent their counties proudly, you know. So, and like Ms. Bothwell said, my heart goes out to the folks in the western part of North Carolina. We deal with this in the past a lot, but, you know, tide ebbs and flows twice within 24 hours. We have places where water can go. Those folks in the mountain did not have that luxury. And it's devastation. It really is. And I was surprised to see one of the chairmen that was able to log in was from Watauga County, which is Boone, North Carolina, if you are not aware of that. And he was just reaching out and asking questions of the next step. What could they do? How could they do it? And Ramona asked that I speak on behalf of that. And I told him, I said, your school buildings, yes, they're lost. But the domain of a school facility doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in a school building. You can utilize a church. You can utilize a community center. You can utilize several buildings and call it your school. We've done that here. So they're not accustomed to that. Now, on the other side, with the snow and the rain and everything, they know much more about snow than we will ever know. But they're working through it hard. So as Ms. Bothwell said, I just wish everyone that has an opportunity to give, take time to share with those in the mountains of North Carolina and also in Florida. So with that being said, Mr. Bassnight, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. And I'll piggyback off what you said just before I start. I've had the opportunity to talk to quite a few of my colleagues out west over the last couple of weeks, and understand where they are and the things they're going through. And once you've been there, it sticks with you, and it comes back each time somebody else is dealing with that. And to be able to support them in any way, whether it's just to sit and listen or offer some opinions or have been there, done that, hopefully is beneficial. I know people across this state and all over the country are sending supplies and things and manpower to them to help them get out of this. But it's not something that goes away at the end of the week. Even when the cleanup's over, it's still there. And this is going to take a long time. Having said that, I do want to remind everybody that last week was First Flight High School's homecoming. This Friday is Manteo High School's homecoming. I'm sure we'll have some reports on that in a few minutes. Everybody come out and enjoy the festivities. And the last thing, I was invited to speak to the Rotary Club at the Sea Ranch a couple weeks ago. Had a packed house and really enjoyed meeting everyone and talking to them about Dare County Schools and sharing some of the great things that we're doing. And I'll save some of that for a little bit later as well. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Caroline, would you like to start us out tonight with student advisory update? Thank you.
All right, my name is Caroline Fuller. I'm from Cape Hatteras Secondary School. CHES hosted Curriculum Night Administration kicked off the evening by presenting school-wide summative data, highlighting our students' achievements and areas of growth. The presentation then delved into our strategic goals for the upcoming year and the innovative strategies we're implementing to meet these objectives. Following the principal's address, parents had the opportunity to visit their children's classrooms, where they experienced a day in the life of an elementary student. Teachers guided families through daily schedules showcasing the engaging curriculum used across various subjects. This immersive experience allowed parents to gain a deeper understanding of their child's educational journey and the tools used to foster academic success. Cape Hatteras Secondary School hosted a donation drive for those impacted by Hurricane Helene. Cooperatively, AVID and the Student Government Association collected 6 pallets of donations that have been transported to the western part of North Carolina to support those impacted. The Cape Hatteras Marching Canes competed at the Peanut Festival Battle of the Bands. The bands earned the following: first place overall band, first place visual effect, first place music, first place percussion, second place color guard, and second place drum major. Our next competition is on October 19th in Pasquotank High School. Finally, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child tickets will go on sale October 18th at Froggy Dog Restaurant, CHSS, or First National Bank in Buxton. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson?
Yeah, she's missing it all.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Skylar Wilson, and I'm from First Flight High School, and I will be going over the highlights from each school in my district. First up, we have Kitty Hawk Elementary. So much is happening lately at Kitty Hawk Elementary School. Our DLI teachers and specials teachers put together a day-long cultural Friday for all of our students to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Our wonderful parent volunteers helped with our book fair, our walk and bike to school day. Moms are coming in to be our copy angels, and now we are gearing up for our PTO's only fundraiser and long-standing annual tradition of our fall carnival on October 25th. Big shout out to all of our supportive families and amazing staff for helping us to be such an amazing school. Second, I have First Flight Elementary. First Flight Elementary had their Title I Literacy Night on October 10th from 4:30 to 6. We had a great turnout with families from pre-K to 5th grade. Families worked alongside teachers to create activities for students to use at home to practice phonics and comprehension. We also had our fall book fair in the library and had lots of families come to shop. On Friday, October 18th, our DLI classes will be holding our second annual Heritage Festival from 8:30 to 11. We invite everyone to come out and see their hard work this Friday. Next, I have First Flight Middle. We've had a smooth start to our school year at First Flight Middle. We are implementing a new positive behavior intervention and support program where we are recognizing students for being kind, respectful, leaders, and being their best. In addition, we are introducing a characteristic of the month to help teach and model life skills that they can practice while at school. Last month was empathy, and this month it is self-regulation. When teachers recognize students showing any of these characteristics, they will earn tickets that they will drop in raffle boxes for prizes of their choice. Last month, we had winners receive a movie pass, pizza with principals, a skateboard, and a gummy bear lamp. And finally, I have First Flight High School. I am thrilled to share that First Flight High School had an amazing homecoming week. We hosted the biggest homecoming dance in our school's history, with ticket sales reaching an all-time high. Our juniors, led by Captain Manteo as head coach, defeated our seniors 14-7 in the Powder Puff football game. Our students showcased outstanding school spirit throughout the week as well, with highlights including a lively parade that brought the entire community together. A huge thank you to our SGA and PTO for their fantastic support in organizing these events. In addition, I am proud to report that our athletics department brought home the Wells Fargo Cup for 3A, and our aviation program continues to soar to new heights. Our CTE department is celebrating National Construction Career Month with a 4-part series featuring professionals speaking during our fly time. Our students continue to demonstrate excellence in the classroom, embodying our school's mission to take flight. Thank you for your continued support of First Flight High School and our wonderful students. Go Nighthawks.
Thank you, ma'am. Tobias?
Hello, everyone. My name is Toby Fleckenstein, and I'll be going over the highlights from the schools in my district. First is N.C.G.S Elementary. N.C.G.S Elementary would like to invite everyone to their pumpkin fair on October 18th. It'll be from 4 to 7:30 p.m. They will have hay rides, a native plant, pumpkin, and mum sale. There will be food trucks and bounce houses, as well as a laser maze and a scooter cart race. They will also be raffling off some amazing prizes. Lots of their classrooms will have special events occurring, so you will not want to miss this. They're also excited about their CTE kits. N.C.G.S Elementary would like to thank the Dare County Schools CTE department for providing career awareness transformation kits for their classrooms. With these, they will be able to transform classrooms, exposing students to future career opportunities. Next is Manteo Elementary School. Manteo Elementary was accepted for the 2024-25 Duke Energy Science Night grant. This program provides the materials needed for 200 students to perform STEM activities with their families. Also, they've had a great response with data at the door in their building, where they have activities set up for students in the hallways before entering class. It's in all grade 3 to 5 classrooms right now, and it's soon coming to all K through 2 classes. Also, in order to support all of their teachers with proximity and pacing during instruction, they have partnered with their PTO to provide opportunities for all teachers to have a stand-up rolling desk in their classroom so that they can monitor students during instruction more effectively. They are equally excited to bring the REAL mentoring program to students and families this year, which includes a partnership with Manteo High School AVID students. Last but not least, there was a great turnout for their High Five Friday celebration on Friday, October 11th, where Manteo High School athletes came over in the morning, dressed to impress, and celebrated all the kids by giving high fives as they entered the building. Next is Manteo Middle School. Last week, Manteo Middle School CTE students visited the COA campus to learn about the programs they offer. Also, Manteo Middle School's mini boat arrived, and the CTE students are excited to begin this amazing project. This week, they will be recognizing 8th grade athletes at closing season games. Lastly, science students will be visiting the Coastal Studies Institute next week to learn about the Renewable Energy Challenge, and Manteo Middle School will have a team participate in the challenge next March. Last but not least is Manteo High School. Last week, Manteo High School welcomed Mrs. Bridgers to the MHS family. Staff also voted on September Student and Staff Member of the Month. Congratulations to Caroline Gay, Sam Keith, and Amber Seymour. Today, Manteo kicked off Homecoming Spirit Week. There will be a homecoming parade this Friday at 4 and a tailgate at 5. The homecoming dance is this Saturday. In sports news, volleyball will be traveling to Camden to play the conference title game tomorrow. Tennis players Natalia Butchka and Cora Walker won the conference qualifying tournament and will compete in the Eastern Regional Tournament next weekend. On November 6th, Manteo High School will host a creative writing workshop with North Carolina's poet laureate, Jackie Shelton Green, who will teach documentary poetry, focusing on historic regional events. Thank you.
Thank you, Tobias. We're going to take a short recess. We're now back in order. Next on the agenda is approval with the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion on the floor to approve by Ms. Bothwell. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Woody. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Any nays? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is a report and information from Ms. Katie Sproul.
He said recess, yeah.
Got you, Katie.
This is better than SNL.
Welcome.
Turn it on. All right. Chairman Twitty, members of the board, Superintendent Bass Knight, I am excited to give you some information on our Velocity Summer Reading Camp. So this past summer, we provided literacy intervention, or not literacy intervention, a summer reading camp to our students in grades K through 3. So what is summer reading camp? So summer reading camp is you guys threw me off for a minute, so give me a second. So, you're right. So it's an additional educational program provided to students in K-3 that are below grade level, and that is identified through M-Class, and that I had given you information about that a couple meetings ago. So it is required by legislation, and there are several requirements within it. So we have to provide 72 hours of instruction to students, and it has to be provided as outlined in our local literacy intervention plan, which, exciting news, we just found out that it was approved for this upcoming year. We were one of 15 counties last year that were approved with that recommendations, and we were approved again this year, so that's exciting. So within our literacy intervention plan, it says that they will receive as much small group instruction as possible, which is 3 to 5 students. Okay, so when we started planning summer reading camp, we were thinking, so when I say we, I'm saying Reese Lamberg. She was going to be here tonight, but family time is important. So we had 3 goals that we really wanted to highlight, and so myself and Reese, and then the principals, the elementary principals, also, and the assistant principals got together and said, okay, what are our goals for this? And we have been really trying to overhaul our summer reading camp, because we want it to be something that students want to come to and staff want to teach, and it's also intentional and targeted. So our 3 goals were reduce overall risk of reading failure, make summer reading camp a place where students and staff want to be, and then also increasing collective teacher efficacy, so making teachers feel like they are effective in what they are instructing. So for summer reading camp, we had 3 sites. So we had Cape Hatteras Elementary School, Manteo Elementary School, and First Flight Elementary School. And we housed the 3 beach schools, so Kitty Hawk, Nags Head, and First Flight were all housed at First Flight. So our theme that was a change this year. So we had a lot of changes this year, which is really why I thought it would be really beneficial for you guys to know about it, because we've been really trying to make sure that this is something that's getting out there, that it's not just a summer school, right? Because you want kids to want to be there, and you want it to be where teachers feel like they're making a difference. So our theme was Velocity Summer Reading Camp, where reading takes flight. And we had t-shirts made, and we did a big kickoff, and it was a amusement park theme. And we actually transformed our schools for the 3 of our schools. So we had 3 site coordinators. We had Kristen Dyer at First Flight Elementary, Treva Day at Manteo Elementary, and Gabrielle Gettings at Cape Hatteras Elementary. And so they worked with their teams to transform the schools into Velocity Summer Reading Camp, where it was magical. I mean, you walk into some of these buildings and you're like, holy guacamole. So, yeah, I wrote it down. I'm kidding. I don't have to write that down. So the essentials, so we came up with essentials that we wanted our staff and our students to exhibit, and we wanted it to be joyful, motivating, and respectful. And so those are 3 things that we really, and we had a Velocity Summer Reading Camp pledge that students and staff signed committing to this, because it was a really short time period. So it was July 1st through the July 25th. And it was Monday through Thursday. So it was a quick but very intensive and explicit instruction. And so we wanted to make sure that people weren't just coming in, and historically, and if you aren't familiar, summer reading camp has been kind of like you come when you want to, and if you can't come, it's not a big deal. But we want it to be something where if you want to have the impact, you have to be there. And how we have it structured is if you miss a day, it's really hard to catch up because it's not like each day is not by itself. You're building on the day before. And so it's really something that you have to be there for, and we want people to want to be there. So materials, we worked with, and I'll get to that in a minute, but we worked with a lot of our community partners and businesses to provide materials. And so that was one of the things we had gotten feedback on. So we really started this in the summer of 23, where we started like an overhaul of summer reading camp and reimagining it. So what we could make a difference for, how we could make a difference for kiddos. And so last year, our feedback was, we want more materials. Like, we feel like we're having to go out and buy things, and we want to, and so I was like, okay, well, how are we going to do that? And so we worked with our partners, our community partners, to say, okay, what do we need? And some of our churches donated, other businesses donated. Thank you to Mr. Blackstock. He worked with a few churches as well. And we were able to provide a lot, like the necessities that teachers would need to instruct the students. So that was exciting. And that was a big change, because in the years past, it was kind of like, schools figure it out. So staffing, and this is just to give you, I won't work on this, but we really tried very hard to keep class sizes between 10 to 15 students. So because smaller class sizes are, especially when you have that intensive and explicit instruction during summer reading camp, you want that to be so the teachers can work with their students very intentionally. Student attendance, and this has been a big shift in our community, and we're going to go, at the end, I'll go over some challenges, is it's been kind of come whenever you want to, when you can, and when you don't come, it's not a big deal. So we really encouraged and recommended that students be there at least 80% of the time. If they could commit to that, then that would be a really beneficial experience for them to come to. But if they were only going to be able to be there like one day a week, it's something that it would be very difficult for them to maintain their progress. And how we encouraged that is we worked with our school, each of the sites, to have raffles. So every day a student was there, they earned a raffle ticket. And at the end of each week, there were prizes raffled off from our community partners. And so that was something where students were like, oh, if I'm there more, I have more chances to win something. So this is just an overview of student attendance. It's number of students that were invited is the second column. Number of students that confirmed that they were coming, the number of students that actually came, and then the number of students who attended 80% or more. So you see as you go in the chart, like it gradually decreases. And one of the challenges that we'll talk about in a minute is we have people confirm that they're coming, so we staff for that, and then they don't show up. And so it makes it very difficult. You're kind of like shooting blindly to figure out, okay, what are we doing? But we also don't want to assume that people aren't going to come, or that they aren't going to come and then they show up and you have classes of 22, right? And so we always err on the side of what's in the best interest of students, but also trying to be fiscally responsible with our funding. So this is just an overview of the daily schedule. So if you look in here, there's one thing you will not see, and that is recess. And the reason behind that being, that is a jam-packed schedule. So the kids come in at 7:30 and they leave at 12:30. And we do that because based on past summer reading camps and just interest from teachers and students wanting to come, they want a half day. So they want to be out before 1 o'clock because they want to have their afternoons in the summer to do summer things. And what we've noticed is, and then also on top of that is Monday through, they wanted a 3-day weekend if at all possible. So we had those 5-hour days. And so even lunch was not an unstructured lunch. It was where we were doing a one district, one book. Instead of one school, one book. I had a district book across there. And so we had the teachers reading to students during that lunch period. And that allowed us to meet the 72-hour requirement for summer reading camp. Oh gosh, hold on. So it was we had a brain break built in where they could get up and do something to just move a little bit. But the activities are also very engaging, so they're not just like sitting and getting for 5 hours. You know, you have them up moving around. They did a walk to read model where they're going to other classrooms and doing things. And so that's just, but it's a very intense, like it's a very targeted program. So the raffles for attendance entry, I had mentioned that earlier. So they wrote their names on a piece of paper. It was collected in the morning, and then for students that showed up late, they had a process in the office to collect their names on that. So even if they showed up late, they still got their name entered on a raffle. And so that was something that we saw an improvement in attendance, because in years past, since I have been in this position, it's been like, I would say probably instead of about 60% that came 80% of the time, it was probably about 30. And so it's something that it's building, right? You're not going to have it perfect the first year. Student performance. So this is something that we have worked very, very, very intentionally on, and that is with building our schedule to make sure that the materials are very targeted for what the student needs are. So the number of students attended, and so that is the number that attended, because we had some that were confirmed but then didn't show up. So these are the students that actually showed up. We had 70% of our students at Hatteras that maintained or showed growth. We had 71% of our students at First Flight Elementary, which was the 3 beach schools combined, that maintained or grew. And then we had 85% of our Manteo Elementary School students that maintained or grew. In years past, we had, not including last year, we had 30%. 30 to 40% that made growth or maintained or made growth. And so those numbers are really exciting because it shows what we're doing is working. And imagine what we could do if we had kids that came consistently like that. So that's like the biggest thing, is just that drive to want to keep doing more and making parents see that it's not just a summer camp. It is something that is, but it's also not boring and not summer school. So it's that balance between making it fun and engaging, but not where they can just come when they want. So I want to give a huge shout out to our community involvement. So if you look on here, we have over 20 businesses that donated prizes, and they're not, some of them are not little prizes. I mean, it was big things like gift cards, $20 gift cards, and I think the First Flight Adventure Park donated passes to, I think 6 passes, which is a lot of money, for one of those passes. It's pretty expensive. And so it was really exciting, and they were things that kids actually wanted to do. And so that was really exciting. So it was something that, and the site coordinators advertised that, like, this is what we're raffling off this week, make sure you're here, to make sure that we could get kids excited to come, because you need extrinsic motivators. And then we also had things for our staff. So we had businesses that donated gifts for our staff as well, that they were raffled off each week. So it's not just about, enticing the students, but making sure the staff is feeling valued to be there. So thank you to all of these businesses that donated, because it was wonderful. It was just so appreciated. And it was the first time we'd ever really called as a district to reach out, and they were like, oh my gosh, yes, here it is. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And then I think it's important to mention the staff feedback. So each summer we survey our staff to say, okay, what went well? What could we improve? And overwhelmingly, there's always things that we can improve on, but I think one thing overwhelmingly is the staff felt that they were making a difference, and that they were seeing the growth, and their kids were excited to be there, and it exceeded their expectations, and the students were wanting to be there when they came consistently. And the really interesting thing is at the beach school, at First Flight, they had all the beach schools. So that's always interesting to get like the melting pot of all those schools and kind of see the different personalities. But they love it because they get to see kids that they don't typically interact with. So that's always exciting. So challenges that we are brainstorming to overcome is accurately predicting student enrollment. And I kind of alluded to that earlier, is we have parents that say they're going to come and then they don't show up, and no matter how many times we call, they don't answer, or and sometimes things come up, like that's understandable when, there's other plans. But it's just very difficult when because we had 71 kiddos that said they were coming but then didn't show across the district. And so that makes it very difficult to really staff appropriately. competing with other summer opportunities. There are some families, and I understand it, their kids work hard all year and they can go to a surf camp or they can go to a YMCA and really play. And so understanding that balance and appreciating and respecting when parents are like, my child needs a break. But we also want this to be something that they don't need. It's not necessarily they don't need a break from this. This is something fun. It's school, but different. And then consistent student attendance. So we have families that come, but then they only come for 5 days or 7 days. And so just trying to to measure the impact of the program is difficult when you don't have that consistency. So I'm going to go back to my 3 goals that I started with, is reducing overall risk of reading failure. So how we address that is maximizing instructional time, responding to gaps using diagnostic data. Each school, for students that confirmed that they were coming to summer reading camp, we did a diagnostic assessment before school got out last year. So that way we're not starting the summer reading camp trying to get the data. We started it, we got it before they even came. And then focusing on those foundational skills and language comprehension, so it's not just working on the phonics. Building background knowledge about upcoming content area, we focused, it wasn't just literacy, it was also building in science. And so we were very intentional about this, the areas that we picked for the grade levels that were, so it's a science content that is going to be taught at the beginning of their next year. So they're getting kind of like a preview to what they're going to be learning for their upcoming year. And then using highly systematic and explicit phonics curriculum, which was U.F.C, which was used during Walk to Read. And then the next goal was make Velocity Summer Reading Camp a place where students and staff want to be. So we hosted an open house, which was the first time we had ever done that for summer reading camp, is where parents were given 2 times to choose from, where they could come and meet their teacher, and especially for the First Flight Elementary School site, where those students might not have ever been in First Flight Elementary School, and so letting them get comfortable and see what classroom they're going to go to and all of that. And the school was transformed by that point, so that was kind of exciting too. The kids could come in and see it. The materials were provided by the district and the schools, the building transformations, student and staff raffles each week, culminating events on the last day of summer reading camp. Typically we did the Read to Achieve test for our 3rd grade students, which is not the best way to send off after a whole week or a whole month of learning. So we opted to do the Read to Achieve test for 3rd grade on the Wednesday, and then Thursday we did a culminating activity for to celebrate all that they learned during those 3 weeks. We also did staff appreciation stations every week, where we rotated between the 3 schools, hydration station, fruit pizza, and we just rotated them and just kind of to give our thanks to our teachers and staff. And then we also shout out to finance, because sometimes I don't think the finance department gets enough credit, but they agreed to do a separate payroll run in July, because that was one of the pieces of feedback we had gotten from years before, is they'd work all July and then they don't get paid until end of August, or the August payroll run. And I was like, okay, so I went to Rashad, and Rashad's like, yep, we can do it. So we got timesheets, and they got paid for the first 2 weeks in July, and then they got paid for the last 2 weeks in August. And so it was a way to kind of help that. So that was awesome. But I know that was a lift on finance, so I just appreciate everything they did there. And then increasing collective teacher efficacy, Velocity Summer Reading Camp. So we did a training at the beginning before students arrived, where we really, we were very intentional with that training and making sure that teachers had some modeling and coaching throughout. We also had a site coordinator at each site that was designed specifically for summer reading camp. So it's not the principal at the building taking on the addition of summer reading camp as well. And so that was something that had been, the principals were like, it's so much to have to get ready, shut down one school year, get ready for the next school year, but then have a whole month of summer reading camp. And we're like, okay, let's figure out what we can do. So we had a site coordinator, and it was assistant principals, elementary assistant principals, which was exciting. And it's also an opportunity to build their capacity as leaders. It's kind of like a on-the-job interview. And then targeted instruction designed to address lowest foundational skills, and it allowed teachers to really see that growth within those few weeks. And then the Walk to Read framework that is currently occurring at each of our elementary schools was piloted in summer reading camp, where we got buy-in from each of our school staff that worked at Velocity Summer Reading Camp. And so it really was just a very positive experience, and it's like we're on an upward trajectory with how this is looking. So I just wanted to, I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
It's nice to see your enthusiasm. I'm sure
Oh,
that
yeah.
trickles down. Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, the person leading it,
Mm-hmm.
their enthusiasm can make or break it. And so
Well,
It's
I think
nice.
and it's important, and I appreciate that, and I think it's important for everyone to see that there's so much positive happening, and I just think we, as teachers, they need to see that everyone's feeling it. And, if you come in and and I think that's important for them to see too. If you're up there just like the Charlie Brown teacher, like your kids aren't going to be excited, right? Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what that sounds like, it's womp womp.
Right.
And so I think that it's important, for everybody to show that excitement. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Questions from any board member? Comments?
I've got one more. There's a number of students invited, fewer students. Is there a transportation issue, or how can we get more kids there?
So that's a really great question, and that is like the age-old question. And that's one of the challenges we have. It is not a transportation issue. Our transportation department is fabulous and works, and even, with the whole First Flight Elementary School having all three of the beach schools, there was an issue where it was taking them so long to get home on that first week, and Alex was like, okay, so he redid routes, and so they could get home sooner. To get kids there, that's what we're trying to do, is make it so they want to be there, because I think a lot of times historically this has not been something that kids have enjoyed coming to, or parents haven't, they don't want to make their kids go, and so we're wanting to make it seem like where kids want to go, and if they're not invited, they're upset, right? They're like, but I wanted to go again, because that's our job, right, is to make learning fun for kids and make them want to be here. So if you have any ideas, I'm open to them. But that's historically what the issue has been, is there's just that drive hasn't been to want to come, and competing with the other summer opportunities as well.
Can you decorate the buses?
No, you can't do that.
Not
can't
even
do
the
that.
inside?
I'm going to let you talk to Alex Chandler about that.
Well, I noticed back in the years, a few years ago, some of the parents was concerned they would lose their slot for their daycare in the afternoon.
Yes.
And that was a big factor, that they could not, if they go to the reading program in the morning, they would lose their slot in the afternoon, so they had no daycare for their child. So they chose not to go to that program and stay with their slot. I know that was a big issue back in the day.
So we do offer ASEP at each of the sites for the summer reading camp students, and that is open until 5 o'clock each day. So they're open for students to be there from 12:30 to 5.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so but I think that a lot of it is just getting it out there, because I think there's a lot of assumptions of how it has previously been done, and we're trying to rebrand that so they understand that it's not what it was,
Right.
and it's even better.
Any other questions from any board member?
Thanks, Katie, that was great.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Pearl.
you. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Mr. Bassnight?
Mr. Chairman, board members, good job. I turned it off. I got it. I want to share a phrase with you that we use all the time. Purposeful, specific, targeted. I think if you think back, I was sitting there and I wished I'd have counted the number of times, right? It's abbreviated PST. Anyway, so I wish I'd have counted the number of times that Katie just got through saying it was targeted, it was purposeful, this is specific. And I would argue probably anybody that works in the school system, or particularly at the level that we are, would say, well, that happens all the time. Well, that happens all the time here. There is very little random, throw something at it and see if it sticks. We're looking at data. We are reviewing the processes. She just got through saying this. We looked at how it was done in the past. We saw what wasn't working. We tried something new because we were specifically targeting this, purposefully trying to meet that goal. And even in summer reading camp, and that's going to really dovetail into a lot of what I'm going to talk about. It existed before. It wasn't a benefit. It wasn't doing what we had hoped or it had been designed to do. So instead of just continuing to do it, change it. Try something different. Target it differently. Give it a different purpose. Address it differently to try to get the outcome that you're trying to achieve. And hopefully, I'm going to get to share a few of those things with you tonight. I'm going to give you sort of a short synopsis of generally everything across Dare County schools that are going on. Some of this information you've had a little bit before, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Do I have mine on? The highlights. Nope. Different one. Same folder. You got it? Okay. Oh, shoot. Come on. I'm going to introduce Katie Spruill, and she's going to come up and talk for a little while. Yes, sure. By the way, is that the presentation you're doing? Come say that, because if I say it, I'm going to mess it up. I knew you were going to find a way to get me back up.
Tell them about DC.
So we were tapped by our NCDPI Office of Early Learning to go to a national conference in Washington, D.C. for the District Summer Learning Network. And that is where 2 counties from each state come together to kind of talk about what they do for their summer learning. And NCDPI felt that we were a showcase district within North Carolina. And so we are going to that conference, and we're also partnering with that network to really enhance our summer learning on top of what we've already done. And so that's exciting. We were honored, and almost like an imposter syndrome, like, are you sure? But we're excited to learn and kind of let people learn from us as well. So thank you I forgot about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Great things are happening in Dare County schools. I could say that every day. I want to remind you of our strategic goals. And again, I'll go back to purposeful, specific, and targeted. We even, in our Monday morning staff meeting that we have at central office, talking this morning about the things that we have on our calendar for the week. Our directors now, when they are introducing their calendars for the week, are specifically targeting those things and tying them back to our goals, so that when they're in schools and talking with principals or staff members, that they get used to those same goals, so that everything we're doing is intended to move the needle. This is one you've seen before. I showed you the other day, and I titled it Climbing Back to the Top, because we're moving. We've had some success not only in Northeast North Carolina, but in the state. And a lot of our EOCs and EOGs are comparable to the top schools in the state of North Carolina. These are our school performance grades. We've got 4 Bs, 4 Cs, and we had 2 elementary schools that slipped into D status last year. We're already targeting those schools. We already have specific programs for those schools. You just heard Katie talk about the reading program that we use this summer. We will be targeting those schools with help from DPI as well as our DPI allies in Northeast North Carolina to provide those extra interventions in those schools for targeted improvement. Our school growth scores. Last year I stood in front of you and said every single one of our schools met or exceeded growth. That doesn't happen very often. As a matter of fact, four of our schools this year did not meet growth. But I want you to look at the numbers or how close they were to meeting growth in each of those four schools. Manteo Elementary School missed meeting growth by 85 hundredths of a point. First Flight Elementary School was below meeting growth by 2.9 hundredths. Cape Hatteras Secondary missed it by 96 hundredths, and First Flight High School missed it by 4 hundredths. They're right there. Now, keep in mind, and when I showed you the growth chart before, growth is factored on 2 points above or 2 points below the baseline. So these schools are right there at it, and there's no significant difference if you score a 1.96 or a minus 1.96. 2 plus to 2 minus are really about the same score. Oh, I'm sorry. And Dare County Schools met growth as a district. College and Career Promise. Excited to share this information. We just got this information last week in our strategic meeting with the College of the Albemarle. Our College and Career Promise, or CCP enrollment, for 23-24 was at an all-time high by one student. The previous high was 283 students, and last spring we had 284 students enrolled in at least one COA campus. But I want you to drop down to the bottom of that screen. I want you to slowly read that bullet. Dare County Schools families saved a total of $321,031.92 last year in college tuition and fees through this program. Over 94% of the students who graduate from the College of the Albemarle Dare campus and go on to a 4-year institution successfully complete that degree. 83% of our students, 88.3% of our students score a C or higher, which means they get college credit in their college classes at the College of the Albemarle. And each of our high school, the averages are broken down at the bottom of that page. Dare County Schools is preparing to open an early college. We actually meet with the architects and with Dare County this week to talk about finalizing those plans. And we are scheduled to open the early college next fall with our first class on the COA Dare campus. And construction is due to be completed for August of 2026. And these are some renderings of what that building will look like on the campus. CTE, this is not just about going to college. We've worked very diligently and very hard. Dr. Shannon Castillo has done a tremendous job with her staff in all of our schools to increase this enrollment. And last year, we had 2,970 industry recognized credentials. Now, I want you to go all the way to the left of that chart and look at 2017-18. That's 2,000 more credentials since 2017-18 in one school year. So let's talk about some CTE programs. The first one I'm going to talk about is our schoolie at Cape Hatteras Secondary School. Our activity bus that's being converted into a mobile home. The students have done everything with this program. They've taken all the seats out of the bus. They've done the drawings of what it's going to look like when they put the stuff back in the bus. They've taken the benches, if you can see there on your monitor, those are the benches that the school bus seats that came out of the bus that the interior design class has used to create and recover, and now they're benches that sit around the school and in classrooms. Just really a school-wide secondary program. The mini boat program at Manteo Middle School, and again, purposeful, specific, and targeted. Manteo Middle School had an opportunity from one of our local residents. He actually was one of my heroes when I was 4 years old. Don't do the calculation on the age. He's from Collinton. He is a world-class marlin fisherman, as well as having written a book. Called me up and said, look, there's this program that Dare County Schools needs, and I want to pay for it. And it's called the Mini Boat Program. There he is over in the corner in the picture. That's Charles Perry. And Charles Perry is paying for us to have these mini boats. Now, that's a mini boat floating in the, that's what it looks like in the ocean. This is what the Mini Boat Program is. It's a small boat that has a solar panel attached like a sail. The solar panel powers a water temperature gauge, a wind speed gauge, a knots gauge, how fast the boat's moving. That boat is then taken by our commercial fishing partners out into the Gulf Stream and let go. And it sends signals back to the computers, to the kids in the classrooms that built the boat, so that they can track that boat's trip across the Atlantic through the Gulf Stream and the different changes in water temperature and wind speed and water depth. Tremendous program. As a matter of fact, one of these boats just washed up in Corral, I think, Water's Edge, was actually went out and got the boat and brought it back, and they've shared it with Manteo Middle School, where they're constructing this boat to see what one of these mini boats looks like after it's put in the ocean. And then it'll be taken back out and put back in the ocean so that the kids at whatever school that created that boat can follow it again as well. Purposeful, specific, and targeted because Manteo Middle School, we felt that this was the best fit for this program because Manteo High School is partnering with our boat building industry, our local boat builders and Bayless Boats in particular, to build this boat. It's a 21-foot boat, and you can see some of the, let me back it up and let you see those photos coming in again. You can see some of the pictures down at Bayless Boat Works when they were actually cutting out the jig for this boat. The jig is on the right side of your screen. They've put that together in Manteo High School, and that's what the finished product will look like when they're done with this boat. These kids are going to be able to leave Manteo High School and choose to either go to COA and join their new boat building program to learn some of the things that they didn't learn in Manteo High School, or apply directly to our local boat building industry and be employed. First Flight Middle School is partnering with the Regalo Foundation to build gliders at First Flight Middle School, and I think you probably know where this is going. But we had the Regalo Foundation reach out to us, and they supplied us with the gliders in our STEM classes at First Flight Middle, and the kids constructed those gliders and went out and test flew those. Because when those kids leave First Flight Middle School, they'll be going to First Flight High School, where Tango Flight is constructing an airplane. And we were just there a couple days ago, last Friday. The regional CTE directors had their regional meeting in Dare County, and they all met, and we toured the aviation lab at First Flight High School, and it just thrills me to say, on the grounds of the Wright Brothers Memorial, as Shannon says, in the shadow of the Wright Brothers Memorial, where our kids are building an airplane where it was done 120 years ago. And the Park Service partnership with us to do that is even allowing us to go out and take parts of that plane and put them in the replica shed where the Wright Brothers would have worked, so that tourists visiting the site can see our kids working on this project as well. The bottom right corner, just over the Dare County logo, that is actually the guts, the interior of the wings. and it will slide in right behind the cockpit, and they've got the seats in the cockpit. So far, we saw those the other day. Recruitment and retention. The board and their tremendous support of our teaching staff and efforts to go to the commissioners to get an increase in our supplement for our certified staff and the creation of one for our classified staff. When I tell people at state meetings that this is what our numbers look like, they can't believe it. It's not like this everywhere. And it hasn't been like this here at points, but I think our building level administration is working hard to value our employees and to recognize them for the work they're doing, and that reflects on the job you do. School safety and security, this has been, we put out a lot of this information recently. We're now using our open gate weapons detection systems. We started using them at athletic events and primarily for training purposes so that our staff could get used to using those before they started using them at the front door of our buildings. We then moved those inside our buildings in our high schools to begin with, and we are moving those inside at our middle schools, and we will transition that right on down to our elementary schools, affording our administration and our staff the opportunity to go to like First Flight High School, who was the first school to move them inside, and see the process and see how it works. Now, they're not going to be able to replicate that process identical to what's happening in one school in every single school, because they're going to have to modify it to their entrance ways and their student ingress into the buildings and the use of their staff. But at least they'll have a model to pattern that after. Maintenance has been doing a lot of work. I just chose several of our campuses to highlight. This is the new path that's been created at Cape Hatteras Elementary School at their playground. The air handlers that were replaced in Cape Hatteras Secondary School's gym, as well as the work that's been done on the Cape Hatteras soccer field and locker room. Manteo Middle School, the lighting along the path, as well as we've just started end of last week on replacing the field light, the wiring on the field lights at Manteo Middle School. I told you a while ago we were having a conversation. Sometimes you have to bump your head on something before you realize it exists. This was one of those cases. And what we find out at Manteo Middle School is because each of the different aspects of their exterior fields have been installed at different times, the wiring has sort of been done as well as the irrigation in the same format. So when the original wiring was done, a lot of that wiring wasn't put in conduit. So it's just wires that run underground, and wires that are underground are susceptible to moisture, which tends to short them out. And then after you go in and put these lights on the field for this field, then you come back and you put lights on this field where those lights aren't tied to the other lights. So you're running an entirely different circuit, whether it's the press box to the scoreboard to the concession stand. And what we find is all of these things have been wired and set up sort of independently of each other. And you throw the irrigation on top of that. We are going back. We are going to trace those wires out. We're going to replace the ones to the field lighting that are going bad. And the only way you do that is if you just went in and tried to replace the wiring, there's at times out there on that field 500 feet of wiring. So you would have to find the spot in the wire that had gone bad to replace it. So instead of doing that, we're retrenching all this. We're putting conduit down, and we're going to run the wires through the conduit with some extra space in case we need it going into the future, and try to get that under control and provide some updated facilities there at Manteo Middle School. Manteo High School, a lot of work at Manteo High School if you've been around this summer. The track and the outdoor track facilities like the high jump and the long jump have been redone. We checked on the structural integrity of the press box and got an all clear on that. There were 3 sinkholes on the tennis courts that were also repaired this summer. So there was a lot going on, as well as resurfacing the basketball court inside. First Flight High School, very similarly. Work that hadn't been done for quite some time on the baseball and softball fields. As a matter of fact, we found a hose connection behind the pitcher's mound on the field that had been covered up. All good intention of why it was there, and we're glad it's there for watering the field, but it hadn't been used because it had been covered up and hadn't been found in quite some time. So the baselines had been cut out, a lot of work done there. The floor was redone. We had some problems with the floor at First Flight High School after it was redone. I having to come back and redo that floor, as well as that massive shingled roof was reshingled over the summer and close to the end of the beginning of the school year as well. I want to give a shout out here too, because I want y'all to know the work that our technology staff is doing in our district. We have been recognized statewide for the efforts that our technology staff has made to implement Infinite Campus, which is the new program that's replacing Power School. And let me back up a little bit. We didn't just go out and decide to replace Power School. The state of North Carolina decided not to renew the contract with Power School, which is, Power School was where we sent out messages, it's where we kept our grades, it's where we kept all of our attendance, transcripts, basically everything, all the documentation in schools. Well, the state decided they were not going to use that anymore. Now, think about that for a second. The massive amounts of information that had been housed in Power School had to be moved to a new platform. Our staff has been working for over a year to get ready to make that migration last summer and make it as seamless as possible. And I say this jovially. Many times when we get things that come down from Raleigh, it's going to work out just fine. And as it starts to work out, we find out, what about this? And that was a good question. And I've got to say, more often than not in this transition from Power School to Infinite Campus, things have worked out very well. Dare County has been one of the leaders, front runners in this transition. We have been able to say, you need to get in front of this because as soon as you get to that point, it's not going to work right. And DPI has been able to go in with Infinite Campus and make those adjustments before we got to that point. We've had administrators come back from statewide meetings and tell us that during the meeting, when they started talking about Infinite Campus, they became the instructor in the meeting because they already knew how to do that. And other people were like, well, how do you know that? Well, because our training is already at that point. And the last thing I'll say is this. Holly, you want to talk about the video in Minnesota? The Infinite Campus is based in Minnesota, and they had heard about the progress that Dare County Schools was making, and they actually took that video and shared it on their nationwide network as an example of how to do this, and have raved about our leadership in the state in our transition. Tons of information on Infinite Campus. We haven't even tapped the amount of information yet. We're learning new things every day. We're rolling out new trainings and information for our staff. Right now, it's just really, let's get the grades in there, learn how to do interim reports. We've got first 9 weeks coming up to do report cards, attendance. But teachers are taking their own initiative to go in there and go, well, how do you do this? And can I find out how to do that? Or administrators doing the same thing. So it's really, it's a learning process district-wide, and we're excited about the way the transition's going. Our parents have been phenomenal in this process in registering and getting signed up for notifications through Infinite Campus. So I want to give them a shout out as well, because I know this has been an adjustment for them as well. So there's my statement. We're moving, y'all. We're going in the right direction. We're not there yet. There are so many things that we want to improve on yesterday. And I'll go back to convocation at the beginning of the year. I'm one of those people that wants to go that way now. I want to get there. I want our staffs to experience that success. I want our students to experience that success. And I want our schools to be recognized as the leaders that they are. But change doesn't happen that way. It doesn't go from point A to point B in a nice, neat little perpendicular line. It's a mess, and sometimes it's chaotic. And sometimes we have to step back and look at where we are and what we've done in order to move forward and accelerate. And that's what we're doing every day in a purposeful, specific, and targeted way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Basnight. Any questions from any board member to Mr. Basnight on his presentation?
Regarding Infinite Campus, what kind of feedback are you getting from the students and the parents?
Holly, can you?
I know it's an a very open question, but.
So principals at the secondary level have reported, I'll use my teacher voice. Principals at the secondary level have reported positive feedback in their buildings. So nothing specifically to me, because usually I'm troubleshooting someone who needs support. But when principals are sending out messages, when parents are checking grades, when parents are checking attendance, they're getting positive feedback from both the web-based interface and the app.
And let me comment as a parent. When I can pull this out and see if it was turned in, or if it's late, or if it's due tomorrow, and sit down and go, you got anything due tomorrow? That's a powerful tool. Not from an I got you standpoint, but from an informational standpoint for parents. And it's very simple to use. I would say it's much more simple to use than PowerSchool ever was.
Yeah, I think maybe there was a little bit of a learning curve there, because there was
it's different.
There was a great deal of consternation in my household with my children and my wife, learning it. But I think a lot of that may have related to problems with PowerSchool, and it took them long enough to learn that. And then, but I'm happy to hear that it's not a site-wide problem.
I'm not hearing anything.
Now that the households are cleaned up, we're on the other side.
And it is very different from PowerSchool. It doesn't look like PowerSchool. Even at our level, the things that we're able to access, it's much simpler to navigate and use and find exactly what you want without digging through pages and pages.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, like an Apple user switching to Android.
Also,
Yes, sir.
Apparently we had some issues with OpenGate when it rolled out at first flight anyhow, as far as lines and backups getting into the school.
The first couple of days, and that's based on the information that we got from the OpenGate people that came here and trained us. Based on the information that I've heard from multiple superintendents, that we're not the only one using OpenGate. As a matter of fact, it's very widespread. Mm-hmm. And there's actually schools in our district who are in our region right now who are contacting us to ask us about it because they're getting ready to roll it out as well. Based on the training that we got, the first 2 to 3 days are different. There are sensitivity settings on the OpenGate machines. You've got to find areas that don't have electronic interference. Students have to get used to walking through it. Just something as simple as backpack and walk through, and it goes off, and you're like, you have a Chromebook in there? Oh, yeah. So they take the Chromebook out, they hand it around, they walk back through, it doesn't go off. There's a process. It's not It's not like going into the courthouse where your belt buckle and your car keys and your phone and everything else is going to set it off. That's not what it's looking for. It's looking for weapons of mass destruction. It's looking for guns and knives and things and bombs, pipe bombs, things that are going to do some damage. Now, there are other things that may replicate that, and as soon as we got, the first couple of days, ironed out of how to go through the process, I think First Flight High School actually got baskets for kids to drop their Chromebooks and water bottles in to slide down when they went through. Everything leveled right out. And I think by probably the third to fourth day at least, smooth sailing.
So the bugs are pretty well worked out.
Yes, sir. And the staff has to get used to this. This is new. You know, you've got two tables on either side of the two units at First Flight High School where kids have to drop their Chromebooks. They come through the process. If nothing goes off, they pick their stuff up, they go on. But if they stand right there at that table and pick their stuff up, then they back the lines up at the door. So let's move that stuff over to another table so the lines can continue. I know at Manteo High School, there was a real fear that it would back the line up going into athletic events. And what we find is they cruise through the open gate, but when they get to the two ticket windows, it backs the line up. Just putting the process in place, what people are looking for, getting used to it, those were the initial things. And I think I can tell everybody, you're probably going to see that at each school as we roll it out. That's why we recommended trying to get there about 15 minutes earlier. I know it's interesting that some students have started texting other students to let them know whether the open gate was at the front doors or the bus drop-off now so that they can try to avoid it. Knowing that students are trying to avoid it lets me know that it may be doing what we need it to do.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bassnight.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Appreciate you.
Thanks, sir.
Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman Twitty. First item is second reading of proposed policy manual updates. There are 7 policies that have survived first reading and coming up for second reading and final approval. I'm not aware of any changes to those. I don't think any requests have been made. If any board members have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
The policy committee, everything went through. Everybody had the opportunity to review it. And
Yeah, they're pretty innocuous. I mean, it's just
okay. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the floor to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we approve the policies as presented.
Got a motion by Mr. Brower. Second by Mr. Payne. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Mr. Shaw, you back up for new business for the first readings?
Yes, thank you. There are 9 policies that are being presented for first reading. And of course, the practice is to bring them for first reading and then have them pass, if passed, after a second reading to give board members and the public an opportunity to comment on those policies before they're finally enacted. I'll be glad to entertain any questions and try to answer any questions that there might be on these 9 policies. And if not tonight, then of course members have till the next meeting to submit any questions or proposed revisions.
The committee had just one quick change that we wanted to make on the administering medicines. They had taken a part out that we opted to put back in, and I think that's already been, and my apologies, I meant to send an update after the committee meeting and completely slipped my mind, so I apologize. But I will get that, I can get that out to you guys this afternoon, or this evening.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't think we had anything. It was, again, all pretty much
Pretty cut and
procedural
dry,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. That will conclude our business meeting tonight, so I will go around and ask for comments from our board, and I'd like to start it off with Caroline.
Okay, I'm Caroline. Going back to the very first part of the meeting, it was great to hear good things about the commissioners and for the $415,000. That's a lot of money, and that's really going to help a lot. I think it's awesome that we were chosen to present some of our programs up in Raleigh and even to teach some programs or educate other schools on what we're doing here. To summer reading, that is like, the growth is amazing. That was so exciting to hear. Katie, you're doing a great job. We love to hear it. It's really nice that y'all are trying just to like make it fun and make it educational at the same time for the kids. I know it's a little difficult with elementary schoolers, but it seems like you're doing a really good job, and that growth is crazy impressive. Oh, I also think that the raffles are a really great motivator, especially for little kids with that, like, that kind of prizes. Just sounded really nice. And also the payroll being in the middle of the summer, that seems very helpful to teachers. And, you know, especially if it was a problem, glad that got fixed. It's very exciting that NC.DPI invited us to the conference. Very exciting. And I liked hearing about the purposeful, specific, and targeted. I can say that again. Okay. Yeah, and I loved hearing about all the different programs from First Flight Manteo and my own elementary school. Very exciting, and it seems like we're having a great year, guys. Okay, I'm gonna pass this off to Miss Wilson now.
Okay, so I am a student from First Flight, and going along with the open gate system, like from the student's point of view, I do agree that the first day was pretty rough. I was late to class because of it, because I just wasn't ready. I didn't realize that the line was going to be that long. But since those baskets and the other table to grab your stuff and put your stuff back in your backpack came into it, I do think it's a lot smoother, and every day it's getting a lot easier. And yes, to go back to what Mr. Bassnight said, we are texting each other. So I didn't realize that you knew that. I told him. God. I would also like to say about Infant Campus, also from the student's point of view, I do think it's really informative, and I like the simpleness of it once I figured it out. Once me and my mom actually started to understand how it works, I do think it's a lot easier and better than Power School was. And for First Flight, I'm really excited about the softball field. As a softball player who's been playing on grass, I don't softball, you don't really play on grass, and so I'm excited about that. For the summer reading program or camp, I think the amusement park theme is super cute. I really like that, and definitely the small class sizes and half days are definitely more engaging, and the percentage of kids that maintain and improve their skills is really impressive in my opinion. And I also like the psst. I think that's nice too. And lastly, I just wanted to say that my heart does go out to Western North Carolina, and at First Flight we're doing kind of a supply drive and accepting lots of old clothing, and I for one have donated as much as I can of my wardrobe that I don't wear anymore. So thank you.
I'm Toby from Manteo. I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Skylar said about the support for Western North Carolina. I know that the National Honor Society at Manteo had a car wash over the weekend, and that's where I spent my day. we raised over $1,000 just in support of the hurricane relief efforts that will all be donated. And I know that our school is also doing all sorts of food, and we're trying to support as much as we can. And it's nice to hear that other schools are doing that too. It's also nice to hear that other schools have been receiving improvements. I know that as an athlete, the new track is incredible. Running on it, it's nice to step on track and not concrete. There were some holes in the old track. So this new one is great. So I'm also glad to hear that other sports and schools are getting new facilities like the softball field. That's good to hear. Other than that, I'm just glad to hear that there's a lot of improvement in the schools and among the summer reading program. It sounds like there's a lot of good work being done there. And just keep the good work going.
Thank you. Mr. Brower?
Yeah, I attended the homecoming football game on Friday. I hung out with Mr. Bass Knight, Ms. Fallon, and Mr. Tyson for a wee bit. We didn't bring home the victory, but it was hard fought, and realized it does take some time to rebuild a program. But I think talking to some of the people there, the program's picking up in the middle school, and I think in the next couple of years we're going to start seeing some really good teams coming through. I also got the chance to see the First Flight High School Honors Jazz Band play at the Duck Jazz Festival, which was fantastic. They lost a lot of talent last year, but they're still playing really, really tight. If you get a chance to see them, I'd recommend doing so.
Mr. Wicker?
I'm glad to see our students are taking advantage of the COA, even if it was only by one person. It's still a good thing. I think it's a good thing. And on the CTE program, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal this weekend called America's New Millionaire Class, Plumbers and HVAC Entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. I guess private equity firms are buying up some of these plumbing companies. And the people they were interviewing had only been in business for like 10 years and was bought for like $20 million. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. CTE, go.
Who are these private equity firms?
Ms. Bachman?
I wish more people had attended this meeting tonight. I had a blast. It was very enlightening and happy, and you guys I wish more people could have seen it, and I'm so happy to have our student advisors. You guys are great.
Mr. Woody?
Yeah, a lot of good things happening. Excited to see the renderings for the early college. I'm stoked about that. It's just a lot of good things that are happening in this district that you go a couple counties to the west, they're struggling. So it's a lot of good things.
Ms. Balance?
Little quick story. My grandfather was he was Mr. Peanut Bowl in Columbus, Georgia. He was the head of the JCs, and he started a peanut bowl where the football teams would come. They would have one from up north come and play down in Columbus, Georgia, and then the next year they would go up and play with them. So when I heard that Hatteras won the peanut bowl again, I know it's not the same peanut bowl as back then, but it was still really exciting that they won. I was so excited. Susan and I stopped at Cape Hatteras Elementary School and Cape Hatteras Secondary School, what was it, earlier this week or last week? Sometime. Anyway, the walk to learn that they're doing at the elementary school was phenomenal. It was so impressive. It was so good to see. And so after your report, I'm guessing that's kind of where they got some of those techniques and from the summer program, and to see them put those into, and the kids were so engaged in these little small groups getting that extra one-on-one attention. It was really exciting to see. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate y'all's enthusiasm and being a part of this board, and how well you're absorbing the stuff that we're talking about, and understanding and having a willingness to understand what we do on this side to help you and your fellow students be successful. It just warms my heart, and I'm so excited to see you guys grow over the next year. And I'll stop now. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. So in my business, I have a ton of people that I work with in Western North Carolina. They're hurting so bad. So please keep them in your prayers. And thank you for all of you students that have recognized a need and acted on it with your car wash and your supply drives and your clothing drives. It's like, it means so much to them. So thank you.
Mr. Payne?
Mr. Chairman, for almost 2 years, at the end of every meeting, I tell our students to take advantage of what COA has to offer. Thank you, Barry, for ruining my, So in almost 2 years, Mr. Bass Knight, we added one.
No. Okay, let me explain that. This fall, or last fall, we had 283 students. About 4 years ago, we reached 283 students. We haven't maintained that, but those were the two highest numbers of enrollment. And then last spring, we got to 284. So the numbers are going up. We just exceeded last fall.
So
It's not just
So it's working.
Mr. Bassnett, you have anything?
Thank you, sir. I'm excited that we're getting ready to start our superintendent's advisory meetings with our students, our parents, our classified and our certified staff. Golden opportunity to get some more feedback on Infinite Campus, as well as a multitude of other things. I really enjoy those conversations and being able to share the success that we're having in Dare County Schools as well, because those are the people that are making it happen. And I'll finish by, please keep Western North Carolina in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Tobias, for $1,000, how many cars was that Saturday? No, they raised $1,000.
A lot.
Huh?
A lot.
What time did you start in the morning?
Oh, we started, must have been 10.
Okay.
I think we went until 3.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's a good effort.
Yeah. Thank you. I had the pleasure of last Thursday attending First Light Middle School Junior Honor Society. I tell you, it was a lot of kids. It was a really good turnout. Very happy for them and sitting there watching the students walk across the aisle and seeing their parents in the background with a smile on their face. And I'm not going to put Miss Shannon out there, but she had her video from start to finish of her little loved one going to that. So it was great. Friday, I also had the pleasure of attending the First Light High School homecoming parade. I was able to drive Mr. Bass Knight through the parade and just seeing the smiling faces through there, and the kids were having a great time. They were living the life, you know. Brought back old memories, to be honest with you. And last Thursday, I reached out and met with the leadership team, which is the principals of all of our schools. And by the way, this month is Principals Appreciation Month. I want to thank them for all their work that they do each and every day. But I did ask them some questions, and in the last couple months, it's come to the board's attention in certain items that they felt like the board wasn't outreaching to the schools as some community members would like, or maybe heard they say they weren't doing. And I shared with the principals that this Board of Education is behind them 110%. And we're there to support them in any way possible. And each board member has an opportunity to go to events when they can. Ms. Sellers sends out us a Google Doc for events throughout our school district, whether it's in the school or the maintenance department or the transportation department or after school enrichment program. And when Ms. Sellers gets an update from either one of those entities, she automatically uploads that information and sends us board members an update. So with asking that question and letting them know that is there anything that they see that they would like to see in the future, by all means to reach out to any board member, to Mr. Bass Knight, Mr. Blackstock, or Ms. Sellers, or directors, and let us know. We're certainly wanting to make sure that our staff understands that we're behind them 110%. And feel supported, and I feel like they do. When I left that room that particular day, they really were very happy, smiling, and really like that. So with that being said, I have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Balance, or a second? Second by Ms. Bothwell. Any further discussions? All of them in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Y'all have a good night.